So though 2023 didn't deliver any Game of the Year announcements, 2023 has delivered ABK to Microsoft. Now, of course, Microsoft and Phil Spencer have said repeatedly that this isn't the end of their acquisitions. They are still on the hunt to bring in good partners. Now, whether this means that they're just going to buy the companies so they can put the games onto Game Pass, therefore making the value of Game Pass even greater to entice people to subscribe to it, and of course then release those games third party to other platforms to make money through it that way as well, almost double dipping, or they're just going to make them exclusive like they made with Bethesda. It's unknown, but this has been their kind of plan all along, and much to some, fans' dismay, especially a certain someone, which I'm not going to name, but you know who I'm talking about. It seems to be the strategy Microsoft is incorporating in trying to leapfrog Sony and PlayStation. At the moment, we've had reports where, though they're not verified, it does seem like Microsoft are now in a bigger profit margin. And though some people say they bought their way into that position, well, so did Sony at the very beginning when they started gobbling up studios in order to get there. Sure, they didn't gobble up publishers, but they gobbled up studios, made contracts with third-party studios in order to make those 1 year, 2 year, or permanently exclusive. To me, that is essentially the same thing. If you're kind of restricting major IPs, it is, honestly, I know it's not exactly the same, but it follows through to the same principle. You're excluding the other party from certain games. Of course, there is more news to come after that, which can, of course, affect Microsoft. Of course, there is further news of other information that we're going to go through in this video. So if you do find this video useful or informative, do consider leaving a like. We're going to set another 500 like challenge for this video. I know we haven't hit that in quite some time, but I'm hopeful that we're going to hit it eventually. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm and does help get the video pushed out to a wider audience. So if you want to support the channel, that is the easiest way to do it. If you want to support the channel further, you can do that through my YouTube membership, starting from as little as £1, Patreon, link in the description below, or you can click on that super thanks underneath the video where you can support the video itself if you really, really enjoyed it. But right, now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the actual video. So as you can see here, Xbox set to make major announcement at the Game Awards, says Insider. Now we don't have any further information other than an insider saying this. This could be a whole lot of baloney, so do take this with tinfoil and hat. But considering Microsoft hasn't really they didn't win anything Game of the Year this year, and nominations has been minimal. Hi-Ho Rush, I think, got 4 or 5 nominations, but Starfield, their big asset, their big jewel, their grand prize, basically got snubbed in every way, shape, or form. It was basically nominated in a category it's not going to win. I mean, I'd like it to win, but Baldur's Gate probably will take that. So basically, as the year goes out, with the way Starfield has been bashed repeatedly, which, in my opinion, a lot of it, like the Call of Duty bashing that's going on right now, is because it's an Xbox game and it's an Xbox owned platform game. It's just getting bashed for that reason. There are problems with Starfield. It's not a perfect game by any means, but it does not deserve the level of hate it got from the media. Well, I wouldn't even call publications like PC Gamer or the Metro Media, because they're just clowns at this point. And the fact that they're even allowed to vote in the Game Awards is a disgrace to the Game Awards. Those sort of publications should not be allowed to vote because they're going to be biased from the offset. So take that as you will. But it does seem that Xbox is going to make an announcement at the Game Awards, or a major announcement, a set of major announcements. I don't know, but what would be really nice to see is for them to come on and tell us what games are coming next year, drop some release dates for next year, maybe for Hellblade, Avowed, and a couple of others would be really nice. Maybe talk about the next Gears of War. That would be awesome. Talk about the next Halo. At least show something. I mean, coming on stage and showing some footage of this stuff would be really cool. What I don't want to see is them coming on stage and saying, hey, here's Elder Scrolls 6. See you 10 years later, buddy. No one wants to see that. They will become an even more laughingstock than they already are. So they need to kind of rein that in and actually show stuff that's ready and go out with a bang. Sure, they didn't actually win anything or are going to win anything sure, they didn't win any Game of the Year this year, but they can still make a massive impact on the Game Awards by doing that mic drop moment and then walking off the stage. Of course, there's so much they can do by even saying, hey, by the way, we just wanted to end this conversation with you all by saying, we've just acquired X, Y, and Z. It was done in secret, blah, blah, blah. We made sure that nothing was leaked until this moment. Or they could do something else by announcing a bunch of exclusive games. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if this insider thing is true, that Microsoft now is setting... Well, this is set expectations. So Microsoft has to come out now and knock this out of the park. Because now the community, the gaming community, the media is going to be looking at this and expecting something big. And if it's a fizzled out firework, it's just going to go more against Microsoft, and the media will be all over this like a pile of bricks. As Gaz has said, at this point in time, it's down to Microsoft to pull up their big pants and show them exactly what it is they're doing, how they're doing it, and, put themselves out there to make sure that this is going to be a big thing. Next up, we have this over here, and this kind of leads on to where I'm coming from, because this could be part of the announcement that's coming with the Game Awards. So, 900 employees were laid off at the Embracer Group, which is about 5% of the staff. We've also had other Crystal Dynamics laying off 10% of their staff. Embracer Group bought all these companies and has basically butchered them, gutted them, and is getting away with murder at this point. It's really disgraceful how the Embracer Group has managed to put themselves into this position, mismanaged, and haven't pushed out a single game, I don't think. They've had all these IPs. People keep complaining at Microsoft having bought Rare and this and that. The Embracer Group is, twice the size of the Microsoft Gaming Studio, as in, studios that they own. I think if you combined Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo together, Embracer is still a bigger group. They're just that big. They've got loads. But no one ever talks about what they deliver and don't deliver. But laying off 900 people is a lot of staff, but this is all due to their mismanagement, and apparently up to 15 games have now been basically shut down indefinitely, including a new Time Splitters that was in production. So this is really, really sad, but this is where I think Microsoft can really just move in and actually acquire some of these studios, and if they're not going to acquire the studios, that's 900 talented staff from those studios. These are the heart and soul of those studios. At the end of the day, Crystal Dynamics is just the name. If they had 1,000 people and 80% of them were laid off, if you acquired the 80%, you've essentially acquired Crystal Dynamics without acquiring the name. And there is nothing a regulator can do. You can set up a new studio name and just literally settle them in straight away and get them working. So maybe this is something that Microsoft is going to announce on the day. Who knows? Again, expectations are running high at this point because we want to see action from Microsoft in regards to delivering AAA, quadruple A games where the media can just shut the hell up. Of course, and this is where I'm going to end the video because we don't really know much about this other than the fact that Google apparently has discussed teaming up with TenCent to buy Epic Games. Now, TenCent actually has a huge stake in Epic Games anyway. I think they've got like a 40% stake in there. So they're actually quite ready to do a hostile takeover if need be, because all they need to get is another 11%, and they essentially gain control. But this is why Microsoft has been saying that their battle isn't with Sony. Their battle is with the Tencents, the Amazons, the Googles, because these are the global superpower businesses. Sony, in the grand scheme of things, may be doing really well in their own lane, but they're just small fry in the big picture. And this is why, when people turn around and look at Microsoft and they say, oh, you should buy Nintendo, you should buy Valve. The reason why they're saying this is because eventually, Valve, no one's going to buy Valve. That company just prints money. They will be here forever independent. There's really no reason for Gabe to ever sell Valve. What they can do is go into partnership and make like a PC cloud sort of thing available for Microsoft. I don't really even know if that's worth it, but someone like Nintendo could really work because that would, even a partnership with them to port, not even to port their games directly natively onto the Xbox platform, but to have like a cloud streaming service with the app on the actual Xbox, where you pay a subscription fee to be able to play those Nintendo games without having to go and buy a Nintendo Switch. That could really work, so that's really cool. But obviously you got the smaller companies like Sega, who are worth like, what, 2-3 billion, that they could move in and pick up. They've obviously got a great relationship with Sega at the moment, so whether that's worthwhile or not. But, you know, when you look at the great relationship they've had with Activision and Blizzard, despite their market position, which did affect things with Bobby Kotick, but, you know, with Playground Games and ZeniMax, it kind of just worked. ZeniMax had a great relationship with Xbox and Microsoft, and, you know, that transition was almost seamless. Same with Playground Games, and Activision and Blizzard, I expect to be the same. So this is actually going to be big news. This is actually going to be really interesting to see how this develops, because if this is the way they're going, they're trying to take Epic out. They're basically trying to create like another, a duopoly. And Google's basically trying to take out its competition. You don't want Google buying Epic Games for sure, because Google can't manage anything they own. It'll go straight to the graveyard. But this is why Microsoft have said that their big competition was always the top 3, the top 4, because they are in a position where they can make these big moves, just like Microsoft can. So that's why all their eyes are always on these. You know, Bobby Kotick said something similar when he was talking about, you know, the Alibabas and stuff like that, in terms of these are the big superpowers of the world. These are the big companies. These are the ones that can move in and, you know, do earth-shattering transactions like a $69 billion transaction and actually make waves, whereas Sony could never do that. The reality is, if Microsoft really wanted to push the boundaries, I even think they could actually go for Take-Two if they really wanted to. I don't think Take-Two would ever sell because they just make too much profit. But the reality is that is something that Sony could never do. And this is why, in terms of like the whole acquisition side of things, the whole business side of, you know, the whole business acumen side of things, you know, Sony will always be left out. And I think Nintendo, to a certain degree, is happy where it is. But Microsoft is now trying to, you know, move and play with, you know, take on the big boys and make sure that it remains dominant. And Tencent is the most prominent of them all. They are the leaders in terms of just, I mean, they're everywhere at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. But that's it, folks. That's the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. If you want to support me further, you can do that through my Patreon, YouTube membership, super thanks, or just simply liking and subscribing really goes a long way. Right, that's it. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next one. Remain legend.